you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing from the gray hymnal, number 349. We gather together, number 349 from the gray hymnal.
Good morning, and welcome to the first Unitarian Universalist congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan, on this Memorial Day weekend. We are a beacon of progressive activism since 1865. My name is Stella Gorlin. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve this congregation as the Director of Spiritual Growth and Development. However you're joining us this morning, in person or watching online, we hope you feel safe, welcome, and connected. If you arrived promptly at 10:30, very well done, remembering that we have shifted to our summer schedule. I imagine there might be a few folks that trickle in near the end of the service today. We'll see how that goes. If you're new to our community, please come to our newcomer welcome, which is right after every service in the Redmond room, which is right out these double doors as you walk back towards the main entrance. You can also fill out a newcomer survey, which is available on our website, UUAA.org/newcomersurvey. We want to get to know you and help you make connections. Excuse me. I have a number of announcements, so please bear with us. We have some very important events coming up the next couple of weekends. Next Saturday, May 30th, from 4 to 7 p.m., we will host our annual UUAA auction. This year's theme is Ready, Set, Give. There will be heavy hors d'oeuvres catered by the Movable Feast, along with live and silent auction offerings from fellow congregants, including a lot of dinners, experiences, artwork, and gift cards. There will also be music by the community jazz band and pianists from within the congregation. You can purchase tickets and find information about donating or volunteering at the social hall table and online. The next morning, Sunday, May 31st, you are all invited to attend the congregational meeting, which is held entirely on Zoom, so the building will be closed. We'll begin with a short pre-recorded service at 10:30 a.m., and then the meeting will begin immediately after. You have to register in advance to receive the Zoom link, so please go to our website or check the newsletter to find that link. And just a reminder that all are welcome to attend, but only members are allowed to vote. The following Sunday, June 7th, is our annual Volunteer Appreciation Celebration after the bridging service. We gather to honor the many lay members whose time, care, and dedication help our community thrive. There will be lots of ice cream and lots of activities, including a bounce house. So please come to celebrate and be celebrated. And finally, we are delighted to share that on May 20th, we made the final mortgage payment and are debt-free for the first time in 30 years. Join us in the social hall today right after the service for cake and good cheer as we celebrate this important milestone for our community. Now, some of you may have grabbed a commemorative bookmark on the way in. If you did, can you wave it in the air for us? Fantastic. We're going to take a quick picture to celebrate. Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. Let's settle in. We are on the eve of Memorial Day, when we honor those brave souls that sacrificed their lives for our country and for core American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, first laid out in the Declaration of Independence 250 years ago. Those values feel especially fragile right now. Many of the rights that we've taken for granted are being systematically rolled back, while elected officials pillage and plunder with impunity. Our Black siblings are being stripped of representation. Our trans siblings are being legislated out of existence. Women are losing bodily autonomy. Our immigrant neighbors, both documented and undocumented, are at grave risk of detention and deportation. And yet, we persist. We continue the fight for peace, for justice, for love above all, because our faith demands it. We must not give in to the forces of apathy, cynicism, and distraction, but rather hold on tightly to what matters most: connection and care for the earth and for one another. This morning, as we hear from members of our community about what they hold dear, I offer a reading from Kristen Harper. Each day provides us with an opportunity to love again, to hurt again, to embrace joy, to experience the unease, to discover the tragic. Each day provides us with the opportunity to live. This day is no different, this hour no more unique than the last, except maybe today, maybe now, among friends and fellow journeyers, maybe for the first time, maybe silently, we can share ourselves. We are gathered in community, we are gathered for worship.
Each and every Sunday, we gather here in our sanctuary, and we are guided to worship by the familiar framing of our chalice and covenant. Week after week, we engage in the same spiritual practice of centering, reminding us to bring our best selves to everything we do. Today, as we are gathered in joyful thanksgiving, our journeys are illuminated by the light of our chalice flame. Our opening hymn spoke to the ways in which we are shaped by our commitment to human care and hope. How has this community shown its commitment to human care, to hope? For those of you joining us online, I would like to ask you to gather your chalice lighting materials, and if you feel so inclined, to share with us in the chat where your flame is lit. I would also like to invite Jamie Borger-Moore here to the chancel to light our chalice anew. Each week, as we light this chalice flame, we reignite our commitment to personal growth and communal well-being. Please join me in speaking these chalice lighting words with intention. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Jamie. On the signboard of a local church in my new neighborhood, I saw a quote that made me think of our community here at UUAA. Their words were, "Do everything with love," hearkening to the opening line of our covenant, "The spirit of this church is love." That's a commitment I can get behind. That's a belief that resonates with me. And if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that it resonates with you too. Though this congregation is not bound by one finite set of beliefs, We are a people who have developed our own strong credos, shaped through our personal journeys, explorations, and experiences. I believe that because we have come to these truths through our own discernment, rather than an external dictate, we can then rely on those beliefs to see us through the challenges that life puts before us. This is the power of faith. This is the power of community connection, resilience, and commitment. This is love in action. If you too have been transformed by the power of love, please join me in speaking the words of our covenant together. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
All of us, throughout our lifetimes, ponder the big questions. Why is there suffering in the world? Is there a God? Do we have free will? Could we live in a world without rules? Why are some people cruel to others? Are we living in a simulation? What happens when we die? In our coming of age program, our 9th graders often ponder these mysteries and more as they explore what they believe about themselves and the world. We're all on that same journey. Figuring out what you believe or who you want to be is not easy. But as our story for all ages this morning teaches us, sometimes you just have to ask the right questions. And it helps if you wiggle your toes. When You Dream Big. Written and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. Who's ready to dream big? Miss Raina was as excited as her students about Dream Big Week. What do you want to be when you grow up? Charlie had no idea. Where will your wings take you? Students were writing their dream jobs on their own colorful wings. And Charlie? Well, she had no idea. She was stumped. Charlie did have dreams, mostly at night, but they seemed to vanish the moment she awoke each day. As far as big dreams and her future, well, she had no idea. Okay, as you keep working on your wings, is anyone ready to share their dream for the future? Charlie was surprised to see how many hands went up, waving wildly to be chosen. Charlie sat on her hands, thankful her teacher pointed to Hazel. I want to be an astronaut, Hazel shouted confidently. I'm going to Mars. Anyone want to come with me? Laughter and cheers rang throughout the room. Charlie was afraid of heights, so there was no rocket ship in her future. Martin declared, I'm going to be a famous actor. Charlie was dizzy just thinking about being on stage. Anya stood up. I'm going to be an engineer. I'll build a bridge across the ocean. That's impossible, chortled Brendan. Engineers love to ponder impossibles, their teacher reassured them. Charlie felt more and more nervous. Miss Raina looked directly at her and smiled. Then she said to everyone, don't worry if you need more time. This is a very big question. After school, as Charlie walked home, she grew more and more anxious. The more she worried, the slower she went, until finally she stopped. Frozen in her tracks, her head hung low, she stared down at her toes. There they were. Charlie smiled. 10 toes, all pointing in the right direction. Then she gave her toes a good wiggle. She breathed deeply. She felt grounded. Charlie whispered to herself, "Forward." She kept going, determined. The next morning, after a deep sleep, Charlie awoke, surprised that she'd remembered her dreams that inspired ideas. She was excited to get back to school to share. Charlie's teacher greeted her students. "Is there anyone else who wants to tell us their dream for the future?" Miss Reyna was surprised to see that not only was Charlie the first to raise a hand, but that she was wearing her colorful wings. Charlie stood up and was about to share, but suddenly she felt frozen again. Then she wiggled her toes. She slowly shared, "I don't exactly know what I want to be when I grow up, but I do know what kind of person I want to be. My dream is to be a bit braver every day." Charlie paused and added, "I also want to be a good person, a happy person." The class pondered her words. Then slowly her classmates joined in. "I want to be a bit louder," whispered Samina. Colby added, I want to make people smile more." Anya shared, "I want to be a creative thinker." "I want to be the one people count on," said Cooper. "I want to be adventurous," Hazel exclaimed. Josh joined in, making the class laugh. "I want to sleep a lot." Charlie then shared, "The most important thing is to keep going." Miss Reyna and her class posed for their dream big photo. Charlie looked down at her toes and gave them a good wiggle. She was ready, a confident dreamer, always moving forward, always. The end.
The relationships we nurture here at UUAA are reciprocal, where each party gives and shares as they can and receives as they need. We often speak of sharing time, talent, and treasure with the congregation in order to support its mission, programming, and structural needs. We often touch on the spiritual nature of generosity, where we focus on sharing our bounty and not hoarding it. I would like to share this quote from UU Minister Reverend John C. Morgan, who says, "In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we know, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but how deeply we love." I believe this is an apt framing for everything we do here at UUAA. And today, I would like to ask for your generosity in supporting the work of this congregation. From our SGD programs to our social justice focus, to the work on environmental justice and our Vision 2050 program, everything we do here is done with love. Love for our congregation, love for our physical space, the earth around us, and generations to come. There are many ways to contribute. You may connect digitally by visiting uuaa.org/giving, or you can text UUAA to 73256. You may also use the tried and true cash or check in the basket as it passes you by. Now I would like to invite the ushers to come forward, as today's offering will be gratefully gathered. Thank you, Allison, as always, for that wonderful music. Would the ushers please come forward? And now I'd ask you to rise in body or spirit as you are comfortably able to speak with me the words of dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may be seated.
The focus of today's service are credos, and there are times when we hear from our younger ones, our teenagers, about what they think at that point in time in their life, about what it means to be human, what it means to be alive. Today we're going to be hearing from a variety of ages about similar reflections on what it means to be alive and what it means to be human. But before we do that, before we go into the sharing of some personal beliefs, some personal credos, we want to invite each of you into a moment of reflection around the same topic. In just a moment, I'm going to invite you to turn to somebody near you who you ideally may not have come to the service with. Even better, if you don't know them yet and are getting to know them better or for the first time. Introduce yourself. We're going to invite you to take a moment to introduce yourself, and then we'd like each person, you may do this in pairs or maybe as three people together, take a minute to share one value, just one value that guides your life and why that value is important to you. If you would now, we invite you to turn to somebody relatively close by and engage in a little conversation. The energy of the conversations in the room is always so fun to feel, and we hope that online you were able to share a little bit with one another there too. Please continue these conversations after the conclusion of our service. As was shared, we'll have cake in our social hall. We hope you'll join us there and continue sharing a bit about the values that guide your life. We're going to turn now to hearing some prepared reflections about values, principles, ethos that guide the lives of some of those folks who are in our community.
I was born in 1978, which makes me a late Gen Xer. I'm a Sesame Street kid, a Free to Be You and Me kid, a Schoolhouse Rock kid. But more than anything, I am a Reading Rainbow kid. Oh, this bodes well. There's actually a really wonderful documentary on Netflix about the show called Butterfly in the Sky that I cannot recommend more. And the moment that iconic theme song started playing, I got full body chills and I burst into tears. I imagine that there are many of us in this space that know these lyrics by heart. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could all sing it together. Reese, would you like to lead us, please?
Yes, I've been waiting my whole life for this. Let's go. Dig deep, here we go.
Butterfly in the sky, I could go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything.
Yes, you can, Stella.
Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. This is the best day of my life. I have been surrounded by books my entire life. I grew up going to my local public library in Birmingham, Michigan. I think I could probably draw a blueprint of that building from memory. We spent so much time there. When I was a kid, and apparently still to this day, the library hosts a stuffy, sleepover-themed story time in the summer, where you can come in pajamas for a bedtime story and snack, and then you actually leave your stuffed animal to sleep overnight in the library. Now, in my memory, we got to sleep over too, so I don't know, maybe my mind has embellished the experience a little bit. But honestly, can you imagine a more magical place to spend the night than in a library? Well, okay, maybe a museum. I mean, there's even a book about that. Does anyone remember the title? Well, I was actually thinking about From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsberg. That was where my mind went. But for me, it would be a library or a bookstore. My dad worked a lot, but he never missed our Friday night treks to Borders Books in Southfield. I could also draw a blueprint of that store from memory, including the exact locations of my favorite young adult series. He would buy me and my brothers stacks of books every time we went. Now, sadly, as we all know here, Borders doesn't exist anymore, except in my memories. You know, my dad generally does not enjoy shopping, but to this day, he will never walk by a bookstore without going inside. And every family vacation, my brothers and I knew to leave room in our luggage just in case we happened to walk by one. When I lived in New York City for a few years after college, I had no money, but I still bought books. I remember one night maxing out my credit card at a Barnes & Noble in Brooklyn. I just had to have the latest Margaret Atwood novel. It was an emergency. I was often lonely and uncertain at that time in my life, but I had my books to keep me company. I tried to count my collection last night, and I just gave up. I easily have 1,000 books, more probably than I could ever read. Plus all of my Kindle and Nook books and all the new books I buy regularly, and this doesn't even count the hundreds of library books that I have checked out, many of which I have the joy of sharing with you here on Sundays. I seem to accumulate them faster than I can read them. But that's kind of the point, right? Because books aren't just things to me. They're my childhood, my parents, my imagination. They are sources of joy, tears, adventure, and escape. They inform how I see the world, how I treat people, and how I understand myself. They inspire deep, deep connection with my children. They make me a better writer and a better thinker. They make me question everything. They teach me humility. They make me feel safe. As long as I have the freedom to read, to learn, I have hope that a better world is possible. In every episode of Reading Rainbow, LeVar Burton would read a children's book, and then, before inviting the kid reviewers to make their own recommendations, he would say, "Here are some other books you might enjoy, but you don't have to take my word for it." He was inviting all of the kids and the adults that were watching to learn and grow on their own terms, not to just blindly accept what the adults told them. And this gets to the heart of what books represent to me and why I hold them so dear. Books are the keepers of knowledge, the portals into other worlds, invitations to discover new perspectives. At their best, they encourage exploration, critical thinking, and empathy. We often hear accusations of indoctrination being thrown around, particularly from people on the right that are very concerned about schools, teachers, and books brainwashing children. Their answer to this is to dismantle the Department of Education, enroll kids in religious schools using taxpayer money, and ban books, because that's not indoctrination, apparently. I try to imagine my childhood without Ramona Quimby, or Anne Shirley, or Christy, Marianne, Claudia, Stacy, and Dawn, or Matilda Wormwood, or Meg Murray, or Harriet Welsh, AKA Harriet the Spy. I wouldn't be who I am today without those characters and those stories. Ramona challenged my ideas about how girls are supposed to act. Anne inspired me to use my imagination. Roald Dahl made me feel good about being kind of a weirdo. The Babysitters Club taught me about friendship and responsibility. Matilda encouraged me to be brave. Meg Murray modeled sacrificial love, and Harriet invited me to be curious. Books affirm what I know to be true, that living life with an open mind and open heart can bring us together. And together, in community, guided by love and our shared values, we can work for peace and justice in our world. We can go anywhere, and we can be anything. And remember, as LeVar Burton says, read the books they don't want you to. That's where the good stuff is. Thank you.
I'm wiggling my toes. Fundamentally, what's most important to me is expressed in our fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and the fifth principle, which recognizes the right of conscience, without which there can't be a free search for truth. As conscious beings, we create a model of reality in our minds, and that model determines how we act in the world. So I believe our job as humans is to discern what is real in the external world so that our internal worldview is as accurate as possible. To do that, we must be free to discover and accept truths about reality, even if they conflict with cultural or religious dogma. It's truly shocking how recently and in how few places in the world people have been granted the right of conscience. The 1948 United Nations Declaration of Human Rights declared freedom of thought, conscience, and religion to be universal human rights. That hasn't quite come to pass. In reality, my identity as an atheist is illegal in many parts of the world, with punishments up to and including death. In our country, there are communities where living openly as an atheist would have negative consequences in terms of relationships, housing, and employment. The discipline of science is a search for truth and meaning. The history of scientific exploration over the last 5 centuries or so has been largely defined by battles against dogma. And only in the past 100 or so years has the evidence and benefits become so undeniable that science has largely escaped the constraints of ancient beliefs. The cosmic microwave background and plate tectonics have demonstrated the truth of deep time, a universe that's 14 billion years old and a 4.5 billion year old Earth. These remarkably recent discoveries solved mysteries that have been the stuff of legend and mythology for millennia. I find the scientific explanations vastly more interesting, useful, and beautiful than any mythologies. One way I feel connected to deep time is by backpacking in the Grand Canyon, where Earth's geological history is laid bare, from the 270 million year old Kaibab limestone at the top, down to where the Colorado River has carved into the dense and black 2 billion year old Vishnu schist. For me, the physical scale of the canyon brings to life the scope and power of deep time like nothing else. My love of natural spaces goes back to my childhood. Most memorable are family trips, family trips in the Boundary Waters canoe area, where for days at a time we transported ourselves across amber-colored lakes populated by moose, beaver, bald eagles, and fish, very tasty fish. The only signs of human civilization were occasional jet planes passing 30,000 feet overhead. Natural spaces evoke in me a sense of awe and reverence. I have stood transfixed in the canyon, tears in my eyes as the setting sun cast a glorious show of light and shadow across the face of Mount Zoroaster. Once, floating alone on a northern lake, I watched a loon across the water dive and resurface, calling in that distinctive way, getting ever closer until just 5 feet from me, it dove again. And as I watched it swim under my canoe, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for what, as Mary Oliver said, is my one wild and precious life. Unfortunately, I can't close without acknowledging my distress and grief in this time when so much of what I value is being intentionally destroyed out of pure malice and greed by the leadership of this country and a segment of our population that doesn't value or even comprehend a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Just this past week, a mining company was granted permission to mine for copper at the Boundary Waters, putting a national treasure at grave risk. Christian nationalists are in the process of destroying Thomas Jefferson's wall of separation between church and state that has granted generations their freedom of conscience. As I struggle to hold on to a positive outlook, I'm grateful to be part of this community. Resisting and fighting against the dismantling of institutions and norms that protect our rights is good work, and I'm grateful for all this community does in that regard. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.
Morning. I'm wiggling too. Cariño is a word in Spanish which is similar to dear, but with a little bit of a different spin. It's used like we use the word dear to address someone. Cariño, ven acá. It means a warm, tender feeling of affection. My very dearest childhood stuffed animal is a roux from the world of Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin. It had originally been made to be permanently inside Kanga's pouch, so it was manufactured as only a head sewed onto her belly. Now, he somehow got dislodged from his mother in the Kmart stuffy bin and was just the perfect size to fit in my hand and being my prize for being so good for going to an appointment with my mom. This plush head with felt ears, who I named Bodiless, fits perfectly into the palm of my hand and has the absolute sweetest face ever. Bodiless is so dear to me that I preserve him. I keep him in my jewelry box, tucked away so that he may never, ever get lost. I really only bring him out when I need to see and I need to hold him, and he gives me such joy because I squeeze his little face into different expressions, and it makes me laugh and start to smile again every time. His dearness is constant and never changes. Some moments are also really super special to me, and I hold them quite dear. Memories from Halloween. We're halfway there. And my parents did it up in a big way, too. My father, and this was in the 80s, mind you, put tiny microphones into jack-o'-lantern heads, which sat on DIY bodies. He crouched in our bay window and spoke in funny voices to all the neighborhood kids. It's amazing. Another year, my parents constructed this long tunnel with tables on either side filled with peeled grapes, those slimy spaghetti noodles, and other tactile grossness. I absolutely loved it, and I felt connected to it deeply. And then when I became a mom, I really wanted to show my kids what a magical and creepy time of year it could be. When I lived in South America, the kids were little, and Quito, at that time, not only did not celebrate Halloween, but it was outlawed to decorate or even dress up. I'd get really bummed at that time of year, and I felt like I couldn't share my dearness for the season. It was so exciting when I moved back to the States because I could show them all the cool Halloween activities, but it wasn't the same. I'd get frustrated when I couldn't get it together to make cool costumes or I'd burn the pumpkin seeds. I'd get bent out of shape trying to hold on dearly to this tradition, and I'd get mad over having something not feel special like it did when I was young. Mi cariño es para ti. It's the last line to the then really popular Barney song, I love you. I heard this song 1,000 times over in Spanish. Mi cariño es para ti. It is what I possess inside, and I give away to you. To give cariño or dearness feels different from holding something dear. It relinquishes power, it gives up ownership, and it leaves space for someone else to create a different meaning. I feel like this idea of cariño is everywhere in this community. I can palpably feel it in the energy of our actions. Instead of fueling my anger or frustration, I'm encouraged to explore the language of differences. This is a place where I feel valued, and I want to freely value others. And my kids spent a lot of time within these walls. There were so many creative projects and opportunities where they learned from others and also from themselves. They adapted and evolved with each new year. The group projects celebrated traditions and exploration. We learned together how to collaborate and create amazing fun, figuring out how to build a creepy corridor in an empty, huge room in 10 minutes. It was not the same as how my parents had done it, but feels just as special and just as meaningful. My youngest is graduating high school, and I am toggling every day between holding on too tightly and letting go. My inner child wants to keep him for myself, to maintain the special moments and traditions, to protect him, but also keep myself protected. My two older kids are navigating the world and are also balancing between the things that they want to preserve and what they'll give their energy to change. I'm scared for them, for all of us, but I know it's impossible to keep them held too dearly, like my cherished bodiless kept in a jewelry box. I also don't want to be angry when my expectations for them are not realized, because these are not mine to keep. I really do have so much hope, though, when I see my kids and all of us give cariño to each other, to others, and to new experiences in our lives. A lot of what they and I have learned within these walls gives me a real sense of meaning and comfort, not in the stable, lasting way, but in the way of giving up and giving out. This is dear to me.
Thank you for such beautiful reflections. So grateful to each of you. Like Stella, books were a huge part of my childhood and upbringing too, but perhaps even more so than books, I was deeply immersed in pop culture. Except it wasn't Hollywood, it was Bollywood. My mother, at a time when the Indian community was still relatively small, it was just starting to increase in size here in the United States, my mom ran a weekly Hindi language radio program, which would be broadcast on Sunday mornings. And so that in the Indian community, that was often our version of church where I grew up, was tuning into my mom's radio program. And her love of Bollywood music, of Hindi music, language music, was often tapping into the most evocative, at times sappy, at times poignant, at times wistful songs. Songs that were invariably about human relationship, about love, about romance, about longing, about yearning. She had a very beautiful sense of music, still has a beautiful sense of music. My father loved Bollywood film and would rent out movie theaters and show Hindi language movies on Saturdays and Sundays to the local Indian community. But what that involved was a whole process by which on Thursday we would go to a Greyhound station, pick up reels of film that were being shipped over from New York City to Pittsburgh. We would then watch the reels on Friday night to make sure that the film was intact and to tape together any parts that were broken or loose. And then on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon after my mom's radio program in the morning, Sunday afternoon, we'd be at a movie theater helping folks enjoy these amazing movies. And there were at times comedies and action films, but the ones that really stayed with us, I remember unambiguously, were also ones that touched upon the themes of relationship, of friendships, of romance, of family relationships, connections of all kinds, and how love can be brought alive in these relationships, and or the longing for and yearning for love. This was not a small thing in my household. My parents had an arranged marriage, which for their generation at that point in time had nothing to do with love, not even with compatibility. I can attest to that, having grown up in that household. And what that led to was, my father feeling this intense sense of longing and disconnection, not knowing how to relate to my mom. And my mom yearning for some sense of love and being cared for from my dad, but also equally not knowing how to connect with him. And me and my younger brother, in growing up in a household where we yearned to be seen, valued, understood, but the parents were so involved in their disconnection that often they missed what we as children needed. Each of us in our own way yearning for love, and immersed in the pop culture loves of my mom and my father, we found examples of it there. Secondhand, but we found those examples there. And I still, will think so fondly of the ways in which we learned about human relationship and the things that truly matter in life from song and from movies and from television shows. There were moments when even my somewhat stoic dad would get misty-eyed, and you could tell that something really reached him, a plot line from a movie or a turn of phrase in a song. Love became, for me, a primary calling, something that, having yearned for it as a kid, having found some of it in my home environment a bit wanting, it became this thing that I wanted to make sure in my life that I always had, and I wanted other people to be able to know that they had access to love too. It's no accident that I'm a community builder and a community holder in so many ways. And when I was in the process of coming here to this community, it took me a while to realize how central this is for me. This was the first search process with the congregation, where one of the earliest questions I asked, having figured out over years that, hey, I never really inquired about this. Maybe this needs to be the top thing I'm inquiring about. I asked in the very first conversation I had with this community's search committee, I said, what does love look like in your congregation? I'd never asked that question before when I was in dialogue with the community, and I listened deeply to the answers that were offered, each of which was different around the table. And it helped me understand who our community is and might continue to be with a new leader. Love, for me, has been and continues to be a central value, a central calling in my life. As we transition out of hearing a few credos, hearing reflections on what some of our community members, including me, value and care about, we want to offer an open invitation to continue those conversations that began a while back around what matters and what values you hold dear that guide you the most profoundly in your understandings of what it means to be human. Imagine, if you will, a future service like this where any of you might choose to participate and share a little bit about what your personal credos are, what guides and informs your life. We want to offer that invitation, and as you do think about your own credos and what guides your life, know that your worship team leaders would welcome hearing from you. Don't hesitate to write them down and send them into us, and who knows, as we cobble together a future such opportunity, you too might get to share with our community what's important to you, what you've learned matters in life. With that invitation, we invite you to join together for our closing hymn.
Will you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing from the teal hymnal, number 1020, Oh Ya Ya, 1020 for the teal hymnal.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we are within.
Beloveds, we are a community, we are a faith tradition built on values, built on those core ideals that speak to each of us, both individually and collectively. Hold those principles, those ethos, those things that call to you and speak to you most deeply. Hold them close, hold them dear in the week ahead, in the time ahead. Go forth striving always to bring alive those best parts of who you are, those deeper callings and yearnings, knowing that you are held and encouraged by this community in doing so until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace. Amen.